Good afternoon. I think it's afternoon now. It's pretty close if it's not noon on the 10th of February, 2024, a Saturday. Temperatures are about the same as yesterday, except that the sun is behind the clouds, so it feels a lot cooler, but good enough to continue work on. I'm going to be moving deliberately and slowly today because my back is not feeling so hot, but I got to keep going. I'm just really motivated to keep going. This morning I was able to pick up my turned rotors from my mechanics, and my order from Rock Auto came 3 days earlier than expected yesterday, which was really nice. They weren't supposed to get here till Monday, so I was happy about that. So I have my wheel seals now too, so that means I'll be able to put the bearings back in my hub on the rotors, put them back on the spindles on the car, and then install my new calipers with the new brake pads. So basically I'll be able to finish the front brakes today, minus being able to bleed them until I get the new steel lines from Classic Tube sometime next week. Um, so I'll just show you real quick some of the goodies I got here. So my little box from Rock Auto. Oh yeah, this is packing the wheel bearings. So I love this little tool. It's so simple to use and does a great job. Here's my wheel seals right there, and some tools I use for doing the drum brakes in the rear. Um, I'm sure most of these are familiar to you guys, but I'll be making use of all of those when I get my spring kit, my hardware kit from Lincoln Land. Unfortunately, I checked the tracking on that this morning, and for some reason, the Postal Service misdirected my package. It ended up in New Orleans for some reason, so I don't expect to see that until next week sometime. A little disappointing because I could have done the rear brakes too and been done with it all. Although I'm still waiting for my used drum too. Here's the rotors and hub assemblies in the trunk of my car. Looks real nice. I'll use some brake parts cleaner to wipe that down with before I install them on the car. So that's what I'm working on today. I thought I would demonstrate a couple of the steps here that I'm about to do. I love this bearing packer. It's such a simple device. And those who may have never seen one before, it has a little hole right here on the side of this shaft. I'll screw it through a little bit more so you can see it right there. And the idea is that the bearing sits in the cup like that, and the grease is forced into there, but against this lip like that, which is tight down, so the grease ends up being forced through this side and then going through here and comes out the side. So it's pretty ingenious how that works. So I'll show you how that goes in a minute here. The other thing I wanted to show is that I've got some more. I got the brake parts cleaner again. Just going to spray the freshly cut surface here real quick and wipe it off. That's just to get any impurities or leftover metal shavings that might still be present off. Judging by the dirt I see there, maybe I'm adding more to it with this dirty rag. Probably should be using a cleaner rag than this, but anyway, the idea is really to get the metal shavings off, so any that might be there. So that's that. So now, let me get this thing situated again here. I think that's pretty good. And you just kind of have to make sure it's level and snug and tight. So there we go. Now I'm going to attach my grease gun. I should have checked to make sure I had enough grease in here. Pretty sure I do, but let's find out. So I'm going to squeeze the grease gun and watch the grease come out here. And so far I don't see any grease coming out. Oops. Oh, great. Okay, that didn't work too well. So that's a great demonstration of what happens when you don't have the grease tight or the grease gun tight on the fitting. Either that or it's not working the way I thought it should work. So let's try this again. Just curious, maybe I'm doing something wrong with the way I've got this on there. Oh yeah, all right. I'll figure this out and start the video again. Obviously I'm doing something wrong. All right, this is take two. It turns out that my grease fitting wasn't fitting over and sealing on that nipple for some reason. So I got a different grease gun. So we're going to try this again. I made sure that grease was flowing through the fitting, so you should see it coming out here pretty soon, if this works right. Guess it takes a while to Get enough grease in there for that to start showing up. I guess that takes a lot of grease. There it comes. Okay. You can just see it coming through now. There we go. Okay. I'll pump a few more times here. I actually expected to see it come out on the sides too, but I'm not seeing that, but I guess that's okay. I think that's enough. So we'll take this apart and continue on. Just wanted to show you what it looks like when I took the cover off. That's beautiful. Did a nice job. These things are great, simple little devices. So now I'm going to set this bearing directly in the race on the hub that it belongs to. Lots of grease, and that's good. Drop that right in there. Set that aside. Okay, now I'm going to get the wheel seal. Tap that in place. I didn't even check earlier to see if the size is correct. I'm just assuming it's correct. It looks like it is. I'm going to put just a dab of grease on the lip here too before I put it on. So when I slide it on the axle, there's no dryness there. Okay, looks like it's perfect. In fact, it almost looks too loose, but let's tap it a little bit here with my small hammer. Oh, there we go. Okay, good. Okay, that is in place. So now the next step will be simply to slide it onto the spindle. So I'll get set up to do that. All right, I'm going to grab the rotor and slide it onto the spindle shaft here. I've got the small outer bearing already pre-packed right here. I don't want the rotor hanging, putting pressure on the inner bearing or retaining seal too long. So here comes the rotor with the hub assembly. Just slide that on. Okay, it's fully seated. Now we're going to put the bearing in place. Lots of grease, which is good. Okay, and now, don't move. This little ring. Then the nut. Oh, lots of grease. Yeah. Okay. And I will tighten that fairly tight with channel lock pliers. Don't want to over tighten it, but it also needs to be tight enough so it's not, there's no play in it. And although it might not seem that there's any play without the wheel on it, if I discover later when I mount the tire that there's some play, then I'll tighten that some more. But so I'm not going to put the cotter key in there just yet. I'm just going to snug it up fairly tight with my channel locks and then just leave it at that for now. And I still need to spray the outside of the rotor with cleaner too. All right. Okay, that's snug. We'll leave it like that for now. Now I'm going to spray the outer section here. Wipe that off with a clean towel. I brought some disposables with me this time. That stuff dries fast too. Amazes me how quickly that evaporates. Okay. So now on this wheel, we are ready to install the caliper. And I'm just wiggling this. Yeah, there's definitely no play. It turns freely. So far, so good. So I'm going to get set up now to install the caliper. I just got back from a forced, unexpected break of about 25 minutes because of a rain shower, which I was not expecting. Not happy about that. I had to quickly hide all my stuff under cover. So no harm done. Back at it. So I've got the flex hose here ready to be mounted on the vehicle. Got the caliper here. ready to go. It'll sit like that. And I've got my new pads here. They're identical. All four of them are the same, which is nice. Makes it real simple. So I've got my new, well, my clean mounting bolts ready to go. So I'm basically just going to work on getting this in place. Oops, gotta get it facing, sorry, like this. This is how it goes. Gotta get that facing in. So I'll get that mounted first, and then I'll put the pads in after the fact. You can see I've got the new caliper sitting on here now. Once again, I screwed up though. I attempted to install the caliper that belongs on the other side over here. I'm not sure how I managed to even get as far as I did, but I couldn't get the bolts to line up, to lock it into place. And I discovered why, because it wasn't the right caliper. So once I switched it around, got the right caliper over here, the bolts fit in the holes just fine. So, and I discovered that the little I don't know what you call these clips that hold in the pads have a torque screw in them. So being forced to modernize a little bit there, I suppose I could maybe switch back to the original type bolts that were in here on the old caliper, but there's really no reason to do that. So right now I'm just going to fit my my new pads in place here. And I'm hoping this should work with the caliper installed. It may not. I may have made a mistake by trying to do this by putting the caliper in place first. Okay, there we go. So that's going in. Let's try this side again. I may have to loosen up those mounting bolts a bit to get it in all the way. Let me loosen those a little more so I have a little play here. I didn't make them very tight. I was just snugging them in place. Oh, actually, I see now that they're not. It's not even close to the rotor, so that's not really the issue. All right, yeah, it's going in. I'll just tap it in with a little hammer. Where's my little hammer at? Maybe I put it away. Okay, we'll use a bigger hammer. I don't know where the small one is right now, but this should be fine. There we go. Okay, that's in. Okay, so now the pads are in place, and I'll just lock them in place with these retaining hardware here. Well, that looks very nice. So we'll just put that back on. Okay, that's one, and then the other. I hope are these reversible? Yeah, it appears these are reversible, and I almost lost my little washer there. Don't want to lose that. I spent some time hunting for my nylon washer that I lost yesterday while I was trying to clean the parking brake lever. Still haven't found it. I'm not sure how important it is, but I'm still going to keep looking for it. Hopefully I can find it. Anyway, tighten this down. Okay. That locks the pads in place, and I can tighten this back up. I'm going to use a breaker bar to snug those up real tight. And then the nice thing too is I'll be able to connect this this line here to the brake line that's still underneath the front, but I don't have the inlet tube that connects from here to the inlet right here on the caliper. So I have to wait for my orders to come in from Classic Tube for that, but looks nice, coming along. As I was getting ready to attach the new hose to the steel line, I noticed there's a slight difference in the new fitting here. There's actually two grooves, where on the old one there was only one groove that had an E-clamp on it, while the new one here that I got from Mark II Enterprises, this spread out. So I guess what I'm going to have to do is just use some pliers and squeeze it to hold it in the groove up here. So minor difference. It'll still work just fine. So on this side, I'm done as far as I can go installing this brake. I still will check the tightness of this castle nut later when I put the wheel on, when I'm done with the other side. But the caliper itself is secured. It's tight. The brake pads are installed. I realized when I installed them the way I did that it pulled on the dust covers here for the piston side to take a screwdriver and carefully put them back in place like they're supposed to be, like they look now. So that's the only thing I did wrong by installing them after the fact. Maybe I'll do it differently on the other side, put them in first, try that. And you can see how I got this connected. I just used some pliers to squeeze those together as best I could. They're still kind of loose around it, but it serves its purpose. So that fitting is nice and tight. And ironically, I just was delivered the inlet tubes from Classic Tube. I'm not even going to open the box because I know those same tubes are part of the larger set that I just ordered yesterday because of that long line that goes from here all the way to the back. So I'm just going to end up requesting a return on those, but I'll wait till I get the big order. So that tube, the tubes that are in there will connect from down here underneath there to right here on the caliper itself. So, but like I said, I'm not going to open that box. I'll wait until I get the complete kit, and I'll go from there. So at this point, I'm done on the driver's side. That brake is installed. It looks great. I'm going to go do the same thing on the other side, so I'm not going to bother showing you step by step on that side. It's just a repeat of this side. I'll just show it to you when I'm done. Now the right side brake is complete. It went quite a bit faster than the left side, just because, you know, lessons learned, things go faster once you have a little experience. So I'm real pleased. It looks beautiful. The next thing I'm going to do is mount the tires on both front wheels and then check for tightness at the bearing. And then when I'm satisfied, I will put the new cotter key in there and the little cover, and that will take care of the front brakes and the front bearings and all that. And that'll be it. And I just have to wait for the new brake lines and steel lines to show up before I can finish that up. And I'm still waiting on quite a bit for the rear brakes with one drum, the spring kit or the hardware kit, which got misdirected, so who knows when it's going to get here. So those are the two main things for the rear brakes that I'm waiting on. And I got to have the drums turned once I have them both. And yes, it did work better to install the pads and the caliper before I put the caliper on the rotor. I'm also not real thrilled with how this is as far as it's loose. I mean, it's got the retaining thing on there, whatever that fitting is called. It's not going to go anywhere. I know it's fine. It just annoys me because usually those are supposed to be tight, not move. Okay, the right front wheel is now mounted. You can see I've got 4 new lug nuts on here. I decided to replace the ones that were getting rounded and all that. And I checked the tightness, everything was fine, so my cotter key is in place. And the last step is to just tap this in place with a small hammer. I would imagine there's probably a proper tool to do that, but you know, I've never seen it. So there's my little hammer. Oh, let me just do that off camera real quick. There we go. Okay, so that cap's in place. I'm going to repeat the same exercise on the other side, the driver's side. All right, driver's side wheels back on. One new lug nut on this side. Everything's on. And the nice postal lady just brought me my rear brake hose, the proper one. This is from Mark II Enterprises, so it's got the right fitting here that'll mount directly on the rear axle. And I notice it also has that same issue. I don't really want to call it issue, but it's got that end here that's slightly different than the original, but that's okay. It'll work. I'd put it on now, but there's no point in doing that since I don't have any lines to put in either end, so I'll just leave the seal up in the package until I get my steel brake lines. And I think I'm going to wrap it up for the day. My back is hurting a lot, and I know that if I keep pushing myself, I'm going to regret it. So I need to let myself rest, and hopefully I'll feel good enough to do something tomorrow. I don't expect to get any more parts, so I don't think there's any more brake work I can do until that point. So I probably am going to get back to work on the dash, take that lower dash panel out, and work on fixing that one damaged plug, replacing that map light bulb, and uh, actually, what goes in there too is the radio. So I may work on that too, the AM/FM radio. We'll see. I'll see tomorrow how I feel, what I want to do. So have a good day.